still trying to figure out what kind of creatures we're looking at right now or talking about. I'm not that brave. I'd like to be safe and sound and warm. And there is a chance that you might be stuck at that size or it might go wrong, but it's still pretty cool. Would you do it? All right. Welcome back to another episode of Stories in a Teacup. I am so excited to have you here and to explore this new story with you, new to you and new to me, which is only partly true this time because I did get to read it, half of it, and then I discovered a technical glitch, so I am rereading it now. But I don't know how it ends because I've only read like half of it, like I said. So Stories in a Teacup is a format where normally I read a story that I have not read, you're not familiar with it, I don't know it, and we explore it together. We go on a journey on this new adventurous world journey. Island. And if I feel like the inspiration hits me, then I might comment on a section or not. Yeah, and we have some tea. Now, because it is the holiday season and because I got the chance to get a hold of this super adorable cup, which is a reindeer with a little reindeer spoon, I decided to feature that cup. And I am drinking Green Rooibos tea. I hope I got the pronunciation right. Like, I always look at it and then I'm never sure how do you pronounce it. Even in German, I'm not super sure. Anyway, it tastes, in German, I think I would call it herb, which is not the same as herbal. I'm not sure what the correct English word for that is. But it reminds me a little bit of the flavor of, there's that tea that is made with roasted rice, which is super tasty after you get used to it. And that's kind of what it reminds me of. I think I'm gonna get that again. By the way, even the teas are a bit of a surprise to me because I got this variety pack and I'm just randomly picking a tea flavor and then like, let's see, let's let ourselves be surprised. But I will still also go back to my favorites. Anyway, today's story was written by Lewis Reeves and it's called Ships in the Night. North Sea, November, 4 months after. Once again, I shoot awake to the sound of my alarm blaring in the darkness. There's so little light. If not for that, I wouldn't know which way was up and which way was down. It's amazing what we think as our little luxuries now. Another morning, I strap a sword to my hip. Still feels weird. The sea breeze hits me as I step on deck. The spray hits my face as I feel the wind in the air, as I feel the wind in my hair. Same thing, same difference. There's a storm coming. One of the survivors' kids back home said I looked like a pirate. I think that's pretty cool. Thing is, the more I thought about it, the more I started to want to believe it. In reality, I'm just another soldier doing what I can for the survival of me and my people. Okay, if that's what you call a pirate, then ahoy. And I agree. If you don't feel like your job title or what you do has a particularly fancy name, description, or is particularly special to yourself, why not consider yourself something cool like a pirate, especially if someone else gives you that label already and you just take that on. And if that's a way to get, kids interested to be like more careful or, all these things, then I think it's fine. I think it's fine to give your role, the things you do, a little bit of sparkle. And like I mentioned last time, with that pirate ship on my playground back when I was younger, I wanted to be a pirate too when I was younger. At some point, this little reindeer spoon is gonna poke me in the eye. I bet that's gonna happen. So, as you're well aware of the situation, it's not looking good. Yesterday, we stumbled upon an island off the coast. The island was moderately small and well defended. Or at least it was. After gaining access to the main hub of the base, we found one scientist still broadcasting the signal through a lone satellite dish. Upon further inspection, we discovered that the site was an old underground black site used during World War II for experiments into the void, whatever that is. After pushing further and further in, we found high levels of radiation stemming from a fire that broke out in testing room 3. This description of still broadcasting a lone signal and such reminds me of one level in, I think, Mass Effect, where there's also the signal that gets broadcast. They're all nice at first and lure you in, but really they're really deceptive. All right, I got to take this little reindeer out because I am going to book myself. This is where it got a little weird. We found video recordings of an old experiment that was working on decreasing the space between us on a molecular level. These size-altering experiments would have been unbelievable had I not seen them for myself. I watched a man taller than me shrink down to the size of a pencil tip and then start talking to the scientist, who in comparison looked like a giant. I couldn't believe it either. I thought it was fake footage, but no, it was real. The way the world is now, frankly, this is a slow Tuesday. I know this isn't the cure we were hoping to find, but it is something worth noting, so I sent it over anyway. If you have something like that, would you volunteer as a test subject, especially if you don't know if there is an antidote, so to speak, for the experiment? Like, if they were able to shrink you down to the size of a pencil tip, and there is a chance that you might be stuck at that size, or it might go wrong, but it's still pretty cool. Would you do it? I know that there's a movie about a superhero like Ant-Man, and such. Let's cast that aside, but for real, it's a scientific experiment. Would you do it? Because I think there's something interesting about exploring the world in that size, but at the same time, it would be nice if I knew I could go back to normal size. Onwards and upwards. We kept pushing in, down more dank and dark twists and turns that you could throw a thesaurus at. It felt like a labyrinth, a maze that we could just not seem to crack. But we finally did. We stumbled upon a door that led outside to a dock with another ship on it. This one was bigger, much bigger. It had everything you could imagine that would cause harm. I've never seen anything like it. But again, this was deserted. Why would they just leave it here? That ship could help us turn the tide, pun intended. After a while, we managed to board her, but there wasn't much left. The crew were mostly deserted, apart from the few that succumbed. When we got to the captain's office, it looked like he had decided to take his own way out. On his desk were documents detailing the final few days after the outbreak, what him and his crew did. It was horrific. But he kept going. 64 days he lasted. That's pretty good going for anyone in this new world. There was something else, though. Something written down, marked on a map of the surrounding islands, about 55 clicks to the northwest of here. It's a dock with a singular building that's been circled. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds like a treasure map to me. Sorry, I'm getting excited. Point is, this is a new lead. So we went. All right, next game of hypotheticals. You find a ship that is decked out in, it sounds like weapons from the description. So you find a ship like that. Crew is either deserted or has passed away. And then you find a description and a map with a single building circled. Would you go for it? Would you try and find it yourself? Or would you report it and let the authorities take over? Or would you just hide it? What's your take on it? Because I don't know. I like being somewhat safe, but I also know that this world seems to be in a special state. And I'm curious, it says outbreak, so it sounds like a virus of sorts, some kind of illness. I might report it instead of going after it myself, because I'm not that brave. I'd like to be safe and sound and warm, but I also like to be a pirate. Never mind. The trip there was rough. The storm did some damage to our ship. The sail and mast took a beating, and with visibility as bad as it was, we scrapped the side on the way into the dock. We could try and repair the ship, but honestly, I don't know what good it would do. And it's sailing in rough weather is not easy. It really isn't, especially if, who knows what level of technology they have available to them. But yeah, wrangling sails and ropes in rough waters with lots of winds, gusts especially, not an easy task. We arrived on the island and scoped it out. It was desolate. A sign had been scribbled into the wall. Don't enter. Death. We should have listened. We started with 12 of us. We only had to open the gates, and within minutes, we would be overrun. Looking over the walls, we saw what could only be described as a hive, trapped inside with walls made from the former island town. The panic set in for Johnson and Rowe. They bolted. Can't say I blame them. I nearly did the same. It wasn't their fault. We quickly realized we didn't stand a chance against them, not with 27 bullets and a few swords between us. So we left, with the aim to regroup at another neighboring island. We got back to the dock to plan our next run. For a moment, we were hopeful, but then the clock struck 12. Ding, ding, ding. It's like someone flipped the switch in these things. They all suddenly started getting riled up like it was feeding time at the zoo. We watched as the gates started to open. They flooded out one by one and started running for us. It was like they already knew where we were. The succession of words, by the way, knew where we were, that is one of my weak points. I am working on it, but I'm getting to a point where when I see it and it's in a script, I'm like, oh, for the love of God, not again. It's not exactly an exotic combination of words or anything, but it's one of those that is definitely my weak spot. We tried to make a run for the ship. With every step on the dock, we hoped to be able to outrun them for just another second. We made it to the ship and we began to sail away. They stopped at the edge of the water, almost waiting for a command, before 24 of them made a jump into the water and began scaling the ship. Damn, that's scary. They were there. Every turn, they were there. I watched my men, my friends, my new family get ripped apart. We got overrun so quick, I couldn't stop it. I tried. Oh God, did I try. I drew my sword and holstered my pistol, ready for war. Every hack and slash felt like a little win. Every shot I fired felt like I was clawing back an inch in this tug of war. Such a shame. It was all in folly. And just remember, they went, with 27 bullets, which is not a lot in the grand scheme of things. It really isn't. If anyone has played, any action games, they know that 27 bullets don't get you very far. After I made it to the top deck, I could really see what was happening. The storm had gotten worse. I couldn't see anything past a few feet. The pitch black of midnight on the sea didn't help. The rain was lashing down, so much so that it started to hurt. The wind was ripping what was left of the sail right off the mast. Rope swung down everywhere like a nylon jungle. For a moment, I forgot I was on a ship. Then I snapped back into it. I had to snap back into it before I lost anyone else. I ran towards Topaz, who was being pulled over the starboard side by 2 of them, screaming in agony as they clawed at his legs. I got to him just in time to watch him being pulled down into the black. There was no time to mourn. I swiveled around and stood ready as 3 came towards me. The one still had a sword in his hand, not that he remembered how to use it. So that sounds like a zombie virus. Yeah, like a brain, kind of like zombies. I took the 2 out easily. With each blow, the more rageful I became, remembering what they had taken from me. Before I could let it cloud me completely, out of the corner of my eye, I saw one swing at me with her sword. I raised it up to block as a clattering clang reverberated around the deck. I felt like a swashbuckler. Maybe I am a pirate. That was the closest I will ever be to one of those things. Close enough to feel the cold breath on my face and to see the vacant eyes for myself. So we're now at Weight Walkers. Just then, lightning danced in the sky, flashing everything for miles, lighting up what was standing in front of me. I remember the details perfectly. The flesh was a grayish yellow with an odor of almonds and sulfur, the skin beginning to peel away, ripped off by the elements. Or maybe those creatures from Pirates of the Caribbean? Still trying to figure out what kind of creatures we're looking at right now or talking about. The eyes were there, but nothing more than glassed over windows to a lost soul. All sense of self had been taken away. Seeing that up close, that's fear. No, no. Seeing that up close, that's fear. That's something that will haunt me for whatever time I have left. Just then, a blot struck the mast through to the hull, destroying the sail and all but sinking the ship, knocking us to the ground, our swords sliding away. I crawled for mine as he crawled for his. I only wish I was quicker. As my hand landed on my sword, I flipped around to defend myself, but I was too late. It was a blinding pain, a feeling of instant agony and ecstasy at once. Being stabbed is a feeling like no other, and I don't think that is something that I ever want to experience myself. It was a blinding pain. Oh, we got that. I don't even think he knew what he was doing. He just swung his arm at me, and his sword came down straight into my stomach. Amazingly, he looked just as surprised as I did. I let out an agonizing scream as the blade dug in deeper. With the last bit of my strength, I swung my sword right back and managed to take him out of the equation. Problem was, he was still holding on to that damn sword. He pulled it out of me. That starts the clock then. I don't have long before my time's up. I just don't know exactly how long. So, after I mustered the strength to pull myself up onto my feet, I decided to take a little walk around the ship. Oh, that's interesting. If I got stabbed, I don't think I would be able to just walk around the ship, but that kind of confirms that it sounds like a zombie-making virus of sorts. Almost like it's contagious and that he will now slowly transform. Takes a little walk around the ship. Back to where I belong, my room. As I walked through the swap, it was like it was in slow motion. Even the raindrops seemed to slow down. I looked around to see nothing but loss and pain, a failed attempt at making a difference. I had a thought while watching this. Maybe we're all looking at it all wrong, and this plague isn't killing us with sickness or these things. What's killing us is what it's doing to our spirit, the way it taints your soul by making you survive through unspeakable things. That's what's killing us. I don't know. Maybe it's just more ramblings of a madman. I don't know why I decided to come here. To record one last one of these messages. I owe you nothing. You owe me the world. But you'll never give me anything. I should have known that from the second you opened your mouth. Well, I'm not letting you win anymore. I'm making this public for whoever is hopefully out there. All the research you've had us do, all the covering up, all the sacrifices, it's all here for the world to see. I can't bring them back. I know that now. I've always known, deep down. But without seeing it firsthand, I believed, foolishly, that I could reverse it. I have stared devil in the eye and saw nothing but pain, loss, and a weird sadistic enjoyment from it all. There is nothing left for me, here or anywhere. But hopefully, there is for whoever's reading this. Go to Nassau. Look for a bunker marked Red 7. That's where we tried to find answers. Go and find the treasure that's marked on the map. I don't know if you'll find answers or even anything at all, but that is where you'll find me. And when you do, please help me rest. Good luck. I think this will be my last entry. I'm cold, really cold. Yeah, I've decided. He was right. It's a pirate's life for me. End of data log 127. Last and final data log of Commander Blake Oliver. The end. Alright, so not quite a virus, not quite directly zombies, but rather a science experiment. And it's interesting that towards the end, Blake Oliver decided to just try and let the world know and essentially try and be a whistleblower of sorts, even though it was all kind of too late at that point for him, for himself, for his like team, for his crew, his family. But again, like similar question to before, what would you do? Like if you're in a situation where you feel like what they're doing here is not right, then you're always met with a decision to make. And either the easiest decision, if you can, is to just leave. But if it's endangering other people, then there's got to be done something about it. Like tell someone or try and fix it. Sometimes it may not be possible safely. Yeah, I would like to say that I would probably try and leave and just report it or tell the news, but more often than not, when you're in those like setups, then they don't likely let you out. So, looking at the hard constellations and contexts that you might find yourself in, and just like, yeah, it's easy to say I would do this and I would do that, but it's not. I have not found myself in that situation yet, and I don't know if I could say, oh yeah, of course I would do this, because I might just chicken out. But I would like to think that I would like to see and have those experiments stopped. I'm just thinking of some real life examples from the past, where the system almost made it impossible for you to be a whistleblower or to speak up or to protect others. And it took some very, very, very brave people to stand up against the system. And even they had to be sneaky about it and, you know, had to play along to some extent so that they could save at least a certain amount of people. Certainly more to think about. I feel like between this and one of the last stories, heavy food for thought. Yeah, I think I will let this sit with me for a little while. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you did, I would love for you to recommend it to friends, to subscribe to the channel, to like the video, and I hope to see you next time. All right, thank you. Bye.